How did
coming
you
up.
first become a Mason and why?
Well, I became a Mason when I was 21.
And what made you do that?
My dad was a Mason. It still is. My dad's still alive.
He's still living?
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
I'm 69.
You're 69?
Right.
So your dad is like 169?
No,
No, I'm
Dad's
kidding.
no. Dad's 91.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
I read that you can't discuss politics or religion at your events. Is that true?
Right. That is correct.
And why can't you discuss politics or religion?
Because Freemasonry's membership transcends politics, transcends religion. My lodge in Santa Monica, we have Christians, we have Jews, we have Muslims who belong to our lodge.
Uh-oh. But how is it possible to get along with the Muslims in the same organization when they hate the Christians and Jews? They think that you're infidels.
Not the Muslims that belong to my lodge.
Oh, really? So when you're praying, do you keep one eye open?
Of course not.
To make sure they don't do an Allahu Akbar on you. Even Dong, a former Grand Master of the Mason in California. I'm glad you came.
Thanks.
I want to talk to you about Freemasonry.
Okay.
And at one point, you were the Grand Master of Mason in California.
Correct.
So how did you first become a Mason and why?
Well, I became a Mason when I was 21.
And what made you do that?
My dad was a Mason. It still is. My dad's still alive.
He's still living?
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
I'm 69.
You're 69?
Right.
So your dad is like 169?
No,
No, I'm
Dad's
kidding.
no. Dad's 91.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
The mission of your group is self-improvement.
Right.
What does that mean, self-improvement? How do you do that?
Make yourself a better person.
How do you do that?
Well, first of all, the Masonic concept is that we're supposed to learn how the world works and what our role is in improving it. And before we can work to improve the world, we need to start with me, improving me. And Freemasonry works based on symbolism that we borrowed from the stonemasons guilds of the Middle Ages. And through those symbols, we get a better understanding of what our obligations are to one another.
So what was wrong with you prior to becoming a Mason that you had to improve upon?
Well, I wouldn't say things were wrong, it's how I could be better. I like to think I'm more patient. I like to think I'm more altruistic.
What is altruistic?
Doing for others
Oh, okay.
with no expectation of getting something in return.
And you were not that way prior to becoming a Mason?
No, I wouldn't say that. I'd say maybe I'm better at it.
Oh, I got you.
Jesse, there are exposés written about the Masonic ritual. You can find them in libraries, you can find them on the internet. There's something about us that attracts them to us. I think the fact that we've been around for such a long period of time.
How long has Freemasonry been around? Not a religion, right? It's like
No,
a
of course,
club.
no. It's not. Since the early 1600s.
Did it start in the United States?
No.
When did it start?
The British Isles, England and Scotland.
Oh, I see. That's amazing. Why
Yeah.
did they allow it to come to the United States? You be a Freemason if you believe in God?
Well, you need to believe in a supreme being and a future existence to be a member of my lodge.
So is God the supreme being that you need to believe in?
If that's how you choose to understand it, yes.
Because some people believe in Satan as the supreme being. Can they be a Mason, a Freemason?
Well, you have to believe. You need to believe in a supreme being that's for good. So I'd assume that when you talk about Satan, you're talking about something that's for bad.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Do you, when you join the organization, do they ask if you believe in God or Satan?
No. They ask if you have a belief in a supreme being and a future existence.
And what is a supreme being?
It's a term of art that arose during the Enlightenment. You may know from history that during the period of the Enlightenment, there was a great deal of religious disruption in Europe, and people of the Enlightenment tried to find a way to transcend the sectarian disputes that then were raging through Europe between the Catholics and the Protestants. And one way to do that was to phrase God as the supreme being. And it's not being in that it's a thing like a bearded guy sitting on a carnelian throne with wheels of fire. It's a being, an assumption of functionality. not a thing, but a concept, what it does.
I got you. I read that you can't discuss politics or religion at your events. Is that true?
Right, that is correct.
And why can't you discuss politics or religion?
Because Freemasonry's membership transcends politics, transcends religion. My lodge in Santa Monica, we have Christians, we have Jews, we have Muslims who belong to our lodge.
Uh-oh. How long have you had that?
I guess I'd have to go back and check our lodge records, but Masons have been Christians, Jews, and Muslims. I'll just look at the English Empire. As England went through and colonized and brought its culture to its colonies, Freemasonry came with it.
But how is it possible to get along with the Muslims in the same organization when they hate the Christians and Jews? They think that you're infidels.
Not the Muslims that belong to my lodge.
Oh, really? So when you're praying, do you keep one eye open?
Of course not.
To make sure they don't do an Allahu Akbar on you.
Of course not.
You trust them?
I trust a Brother Mason, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
And women are not part of the Mason, right?
No, that's not true either. There are women who are Masons. In Santa Monica, for example, where my lodge is, I belong to 2 lodges in Santa Monica.
Uh-huh.
One of my lodges, there's another lodge that meets in our building that has both men and women who are members. In my other lodge in Santa Monica, their building has a lodge that has only women who are members.
When did women become members of the Freemasonry?
Well, you can trace women's involvement in Freemasonry to probably the latter part of the 1700s.
Why did they let them in? Women always want to get involved in men's stuff, huh?
In fact,
They don't want us to have anything to us. Are you disappointed they let the women in?
of course not,
But that's when all the confusion came.
because women were involved in things.
Right.
I
Isn't
don't
that
think
true?
I don't think my mom would agree, or my grandmothers would agree to
Are
that.
they Mason?
They were very strong-willed women.
Oh, see that? That's why you don't want them in there.
Well, actually, my lodge is only men.
Oh, good.
Right.
Keep it that way.
Okay.
Have they tried to get in yet?
To our lodge?
Uh-huh.
No, because our lodge is only men.
Is it true that you believe in a future existence?
A future existence, right.
And what does that mean?
That there is some part of me that continues after I'm gone.
Does that mean like a heaven and a hell? Heaven or hell?
I don't really define it that way.
How do you define it?
I think that there is something that happens to me afterward.
But you don't know what.
I think I've had a foreshadowing of it.
Have you died already once?
Well, I've been visited by the Holy Spirit on a couple of occasions.
Really? What did he look like?
It wasn't a he and it wasn't a look like.
What did it look like?
It wasn't an it. It wasn't a thing, Jesse.
Was it a transgender?
It was a what?
Transgender person. Yeah.
It wasn't a thing, Jesse.
And so how do you know? So tell me about this.
I was overcome by this tremendous sense of well-being. The room sort of had a pinkish hue to it. I felt warmth. I had an ability to see that I had not experienced on any other occasion. Tremendous clarity.
How long did it stay?
Not very long, a few minutes.
Were you sleeping in bed?
No.
Were you asleep? You were just awake?
Twice it happened when I was in bed. Another time I was relaxing.
And what did it want?
Didn't want anything.
It just came by?
It didn't actually come by. It was a feeling that I had, Jesse.
Do you smoke pot?
No, Jesse.
Oh, okay. Have you ever smoked pot?
I refuse to answer that question.
That means yes.
That doesn't necessarily mean yes.
In the court, the judge would assume that means yes.
Okay, well, you're not supposed to assume anything in court.
A-S-S-U-M, that's right, you're right. So the Holy Spirit came by. How did that enhance your life? Or did it enhance?
Well, it reassured me that there's a supreme being.
I wanted to ask you.
And it also gave me, I think, a foretaste of what my passage is to the other side.
And
It gives,
so,
gives you a certain comfort. It reinforces your faith and hope. And
do you believe there's a heaven and a hell?
I would not describe it that way. That is not my sense of things.
What would happen if you recognized it as heaven or hell? And a hell.
I've never conceived of it that way.
Would you consider yourself a Christian?
Yes.
You're a Christian. And so, have you ever heard that there's a heaven and a hell?
I've heard people say that.
But you don't, do you believe anyone go there once they die?
I'm only concerned about me. I'm not concerned about anybody
Do you
else.
have kids?
I do.
Have you been married? Are you married now?
Yes.
And are you concerned if your wife and kids will go to hell or heaven?
Well, because I never really think of it in that context, no.
And so, what do you think of when they die? You think, well, when my kids or my wife die, they're going to.
All I know is where I think maybe I am going to go.
And where do you think you're going?
Well, I think that pink feeling of well-being, of warmth, of clarity, I think that's a transition to something beyond that I've not now yet experienced.
Well, you probably should ask the Holy Spirit to come back with blue, not pink.
Oh, why?
Blue is for the male. So you better, if I you say, wait a minute, thank you for coming, but you have on the wrong color.
Yeah. Well,
The Holy Spirit.
yeah.
Because he was in pink, he was coming for your wife, not for you.
Okay. All right.
You were in the way.
Okay. She was not in the room at the time.
See there?
Yeah. Okay.
One thing. So let me ask: Do you believe that we die when we leave the earth in the physical sense? Do you believe we die or we stay alive?
But because I'm a lawyer, how do you define death? How do you define death?
When we drop our bodies on earth, when you're no longer in the physical on earth, right?
Right.
What happens to your spirit?
Well, I've already explained that I think that this sensation, the pink sensation I talked to you about, I think that happens and something happens beyond that, and I don't know what that is.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, I've heard this, I don't know if it's true. Have all the U.S. presidents been Freemasons?
They have not been.
So that's not true.
That is not true at all. George Washington was.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about him.
Right.
Why do people think that all of the U.S. presidents have been Freemasons?
I don't know, Jesse, why they think that.
That's just a rumor, huh?
Bad rumor.
And you mentioned that George Washington was a Freemason.
Correct.
Why did he become one?
A lot of the men of the Enlightenment were Freemasons. Dr. Margaret Jacob, who's a distinguished professor of history at UCLA, theorizes that the Masonic lodges were actually the prototype for democratic institutions, that the way we understand where to interact in a democracy was really developed in Masonic lodge in the context of Europe where democracy did not exist, and that the fellowship, the association that the Masons had was where they learned the skills that they later took outside the lodge to develop democratic institutions. So people who were interested in democracy during the era of the Enlightenment, it was kind of a heretical idea at the time,
Right.
went against the established order, that they joined these lodges where they could experience this kind of spirit of democracy to develop this institution within their lodge, and that they then took what they learned and developed there out to society, then to develop democratic institutions for society at large.
Interesting. Why do people that belong to the Mason tell me that it's a secret? They can't tell me what it is. And you're telling me everything.
I haven't.
You haven't told me everything?
Well, I haven't told you what our modes of recognition are.
What are they?
That's the way a Mason makes himself known to another Mason.
And show me.
Well, I couldn't because I promised not to.
Well, I won't tell.
Well, but your viewers might.
Y'all close your eyes.
Well, I
So-
couldn't tell you anyway because you're not a Mason.
Will you tell me? I'll
You'd have to become a Mason, Jesse.
Well, will you tell me after the show's
No.
over, and then
No.
we'll go in private? You can
No,
tell me.
no.
What would happen if you told me?
I would violate my obligation.
And then what would happen to you? They
I-
won't know because I won't tell them.
Yeah, well, I would know.
Would you tell them you told me?
The fact that I would know I violated is sufficient.
Would you have to kill yourself?
No.
I heard that the Freemasons have their own Bible. Is that
No,
true?
not true.
They don't have their own Bible.
No. In fact, in our lodges, you can choose to be obligated on the Old Testament, the Old and New Testament, or the Quran.
Oh, amazing.
Right.
So are black people a part of the Mason now?
Yes, we have black members of our lodge.
Why'd y'all let them in?
I already suggested to you, Jesse, you might want to consider it.
But I'm not into the black thing.
Oh, okay.
So now that they're in there, do you have to worry about racism and all that stuff?
Well, that's the point about Freemasonry. It transcends race.
So they don't talk about racism?
No.
And do y'all have to be nice to them so they won't get into that?
We're the same with everybody, Jesse.
And so
That's the whole point. That's the beauty of Freemasonry, that we treat everybody as a brother. And the idea is to extend it beyond the law. It's to treat people that we meet out on the street as a brother.
So when they come in and fill out the application, do you say, well, don't come in with that mess about racism?
No, we don't mention, we don't ask about their race or anything.
At one time, blacks were not a part of the Freemason, right?
Well, no, blacks were Freemasons. It's just they had their own separate group.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's amazing. Why do some people believe that Freemasons are in control of American society? American society.
Yeah, well, I guess everybody's trying to look for some hidden force. The wizard, as in the Wizard of Oz, who's behind the drape.
And so you're saying you're not in control of American society.
Well, we can hardly control ourselves.
And if you were in control, would you say yes, and here's why?
That's a hypothetical question.
That may
we're
be
not.
the secret. You're in control of American
Okay,
society.
all
won't tell
right.
me. Do y'all have a lot of money?
Well, we have some endowment funds, yeah.
You own the banks?
No.
Are Freemasons guarding America's biggest secret?
Well, we don't really have a big secret.
Once I become a Mason, would you tell me that?
Well, you didn't discover that we don't have one.
I will discover that you don't have one?
All right.
People think that you have one,
Well, people think a lot of things.
that you're guarding that, and you won't
Yeah.
tell no one.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear this.
Yeah.
Or how do
Will you sleep
Freemasons-
better tonight?
I will.
Okay. All right.
What is the highest position in Freemasonry?
To be the Grand Master.
And how do you become the Grand Master?
You're elected by your fellow Masons.
Do you make more money up there?
You don't get paid anything to be Grand Master.
Well, what's the purpose then?
It's a volunteer job.
But why? You going to be grand with no money?
There's more to life, Jesse, than money.
So it's just the ego feeling of being the Grand Master.
No, it's the opportunity actually to have an impact. So some of the men who had the greatest impact on me were actually men who had been Grand Master, who were my dad's friends.
Impact in what way?
That
How
they're
did
my
they
dad's
impact
friends,
you?
or they had, that
No,
they
how
had
did they
impact?
impact you, some of the Grand Masters?
Because they approached life in a fashion that I would like to do also.
Are you on your way to becoming one? A Grand Master?
I was Grand Master 26 years ago.
Oh, really? So you're up there.
I've been there.
And so if I went to a meeting, you'll be sitting on the throne up there?
We don't have thrones. I'd have a different kind of apron on.
Oh, you would?
Right.
And does it say Grand Master?
No, it didn't say that.
Oh.
It has a special emblem on it.
And do you tell us what to do?
No, of course not.
What's the purpose then? How long does it take to become a member? Once I decide, if I decide I want to join, when would I be a full member?
Well, we'd encourage you to come to the dinners we have before our monthly business meeting. You'd come, you'd meet the guys, you'd come for several months. You would ask to become a Mason. No one will ever ask you to become a Mason. You'd ask for a petition. We would give you the petition. You'd read it, you'd fill it out. You'd have to ask 2 brothers to recommend you. They would. Then 3 people whom you may not have met would come to your home, your place of business. They would interview you. So, it's like 4 or 5 months before you get your application, a couple of months for somebody to come by and talk to you. We would then vote on you. Probably within a month or two, you would take your first degree. There'd be things for you to memorize from that degree. You would then come back and get your second degree,
Wow.
things to memorize from that.
That sounds like a lot of work. No wonder y'all don't have many
Yeah.
black people in there. That's too many.
Jesse, improving yourself is work.
But we black. We're not required to. But
Then there's the third degree, and then when you're done with that, a little more memory work, and you're a full-fledged Mason.
keep it that way.
So it's about
Don't
18
ever let
months.
black people in based on
Well,
being
we
black.
have black members in our lodge.
They had to work hard, huh?
We're same as I did.
I noticed that a lot of entertainers uses Masonic symbols.
Well, okay, a number of entertainers have been Masons. Nat King Cole was a very prominent Mason.
And so that's
Duke Ellington was a Mason.
that's why they use those symbols, because they have been a Mason before. They are a Mason.
I don't remember either one of those two using it, but I do know that contemporary artists do use Masonic symbols.
Is the Great White Hope a Freemason?
Who's the Great White Hope?
You don't know who the Great White Hope is? Are you a Mason?
Who's that?
President Trump.
Donald Trump? I don't believe Donald Trump's a Mason.
Did you vote for him?
No, actually I didn't.
Did you vote for Hillary?
No, I didn't.
Are you about to lose your Mason card if you had said yes? Do you love the Great White Hope?
Do I love Donald Trump?
Yes.
The Masons don't talk about politics in public.
You want to tell me that after the cameras goes off?
Sure, we'll talk then.